of conversations with important Russian and Ukrainian personalities, experts in their respective fields, hosted by TASS. All of this is designed to promote a dialogue because we need a world in which we're talking to one another, not fighting each other. And I'm honored today to be able to sit with Igor Markov, who is both a successful businessman but a political exile. And it seems he's not popular with the current authorities in Ukraine. Mr. Markov, thank you for sitting down, agreeing to sit down with me. So let's start with how did you come to be in Russia?
After the events of that, what happened on 2nd May of 2014, in a ministry, not in a ministry, but Profsayuz House, for Union House, when they burned innocent people who were just protesting, that were killed, murdered, slaughtered by Ukrainian Nazis. So we were not ready for that, and I had to go to Russia. And we have created the first volunteer divisions at Donbass, and my comrades with guns are still trying to take over Ukraine away from those Nazis.
So you were born in Ukraine or in the Donbass?
Yes, he's born in Odessa. He's a fourth generation from Odessa. My father is there. My grandmother is there. And today they have people in Odessa that have no relationship to our city, and they're trying to bring strange orders, strange ideology that never was accepted in Odessa. Odessa is a multinational city, it's a multi-confessional city. A lot of nationalities live there. We never shared each other, like what nationality you have, who spoke what language. Everybody understood clearly each other. And today, you got to speak only Ukrainian. You have to hate Russia. You have to hate Russians. You have to hate anything that is connected with Russia. So that's the politics that we have there. And I've watched it from 2000. And unfortunately, a huge role. I saw how Americans work there. I saw how the American funds work there, and how with their cookies and milk, and they were giving something that we cannot stop with tanks. As this was a system, you got to give it to them. You got to say that yes, it was cynical business. They took young, talented, gifted people. They took to teach them. They programmed them. They have changed their mindset. Any person who was young, it was like a computer. You put a software in that computer, and that's how it works. If you put the virus, it's going to be a virus computer. If you have a good software, it'll be good. So they were raised in a way that, of course, we gave reason. There was not that there was no reason. Russia was in a very difficult position, and they used all our mistakes. They watched us close, and they raised a generation of people that were nationalists. You see it all now. Chevrons, Nazis cross, ideology, actions. Kill people because they speak another language, and only Nazis can do that.
Do you recall when you first began to notice the rise of this Bandera nationalism prior to May 2nd of 2014?
Yes, it was 2005. Once Yushchenko got into power, that was first wave. We didn't have many of them before that. We didn't pay attention to them. Nobody thought they were serious. Some kind of whatever. Look at them like foolish, half idiots, half crazy. Some kind of strange haircuts, bald. They put things on their sleeves, the markers. There's stickers for holiday. We thought it was a folklore. Local national folklore. Ukrainian language, Ukrainian. My mother is from Ukrainian-speaking language region, and we understood everybody very clear. There was no antagonism. And they turned it into weapon, into ideology, nationality, language, the way you look. And again and again, under a very strict leadership from United States. Your co-citizens, your co-colleagues, ex-colleagues, former colleagues, but it was very bad. It was very cynical to just satisfy their, political. But I think it's a big mistake.
Okay. So when you first started seeing these Nazi symbols, the swastikas and other, the death heads, I can't imagine that should have been so terribly offensive to, Russians who had, they had been victims of that ideology during the Great Patriotic War.
Again, in the beginning, yes. We treated them as half crazy, that they are out of their mind, making fun of them maybe. They're aggressive. For example, I tell you honestly, me and my friends, sometimes we had fights with them, fist fight, because there was a city day. Everybody's celebrating, going with kids. Here we have 20 moral idiots coming in. They're shaved, they're dressed, and they go to Pushkin's monument and wash their feet there. There's like a fountain. Pushkin is a great Russian writer. Why do that? Why provoke? So they stood there, washed their feet and boots in the fountain. And we just didn't have enough patience, and we just give them a fist fight. Sorry for my language. And they left. They ran away. But this is the way they are. They provoke. They have nothing of their own. There's nothing holy for them, and they want to have a self-approval. And what they do is, since you don't have your own foundation, they kill what you respect. Some kind of Ukrainian culture, but you can call it conditioning. It's like a folklore again. It was a huge Russian culture, and inside that we had some kind of other folklore things that followed Russia, and just to have a self-improvement, self-esteem. It's like those bugs they eat off. It's to see the weeds. To see the weed, you gotta cut the whole field. But it's a weed, so you have to clean it up. They had cleaned up everything around them.
Well, let me share with you my perspective on where I think this war is headed, and I would welcome either your disagreement, your agreement, correct me, enlighten me. I don't see a negotiated end to this war. I think that the need to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine cannot be accomplished through negotiations. I think it will be accomplished on the battlefield. And before it is over, I think that Russia will once again be in control of Odessa, as well as all of the territories that are east of the Dnieper River. What's your view?
Absolutely agree with you. More than that, I think that, they think that we have a civil war of one people, of one nation. But a civil war, there could be only one winner. There was a revolution. There was reds and whites. They could not have any agreement, okay? Same thing now. It's when countries fight between each other, you can sit down at the round table and have a peace talk. And with time, even the bloodiest World War II in 20, 30 years, we started talking to Germans. But in a civil war, there's only one winner. Either they will fight us or we fight them. 100% agreement. Till we put as a foundation that we control everything, there could not be any denazification. Fascism is like cancer. Impossible to fight all those things that come in until you take the cancer out. Sooner or later, if you don't take it out, something will start again. Hate to Russia, it's the only thing that they exist. And that's how they raise it. The tumor has to be taken out. I don't understand what kind of people they are, why they have it, why can't they live in peace. Okay, you don't want to speak Russian, speak Ukrainian, but to me, I don't want to speak Ukrainian, but to me it's like the language of the enemy, that my relatives and my friends are killed.
Yeah.
They did that. They led everybody to that point. If at least before earlier we could treat it okay, if I hear now Ukrainian speech, I get nervous. I'm sorry, but I'm at aggression point, because this language, people speaking this language, killing my relatives, my friends, and they did that. They came to that. They turned language into a speech of hate. Even the culture, identity that they had, even the Ukraine, the name Ukraine, that's what now our death enemy. It carries death to me and a danger. I'd do anything possible to take out this tumor.
There is the impression, the way the West approaches the situation in Ukraine is they look at Zelensky as sort of the center and the power. But I've been fortunate. I've talked to former Prime Minister Azarov the other day, and I know that you were close to him when he was in as Prime Minister and since. And another former prosecutor, Markov. But it seems that Zelensky is the highest paid actor in the world today. That he's not the one actually calling the shots. That it is a group of oligarchs that are really driving this. Could you explain what you think is going on in that with respect to the role of the oligarchs in Ukraine, or let's call them the capitalists?
That's obvious. It's oligarchs. It's like we have a fairy tale. Where's the bad king? Where's his court? He corrupted Ukraine. He made Ukraine fully corrupted. It was going on year after year after year. At least in Russia, we have a great leader, and he took over all these processes. How can you take it under control? By paying corruption, by feeding the wolf, and all this process that we're taking in politics. They bought people and they controlled all fractions, were financed by. Everybody knew that the Region Party is Akhmetov's, Poroshenko is a party of this oligarch. Timoshenko is. And the oligarchs that bought out a ready product. They saw, okay, Pinchuk, he's winning, okay, we'll put money into him. He was a great fan of Kuchma. He is adept of the Democratic Party. He financed election for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And her husband, and etc. Yes, you're absolutely right. Ukraine was not a subject. Was always. In Russia, we had that in '90s. We had like. Again, when Mr. Putin came as a president, he cut all that. And Ukraine got its full development and is just spreading out till the last breath. And they're still surviving now. But now, instead of Ukrainian oligarchs, they already have a world oligarchs. And Zelensky is an actor, not a bad actor, who doesn't make any decisions, I don't know how God allowed him to be there. It's like we say that God allowed because that's what they wanted, that's what they needed. They were begging for such person, a person who plays his role, and he doesn't make any strategies. He solves some kind of things, how to steal better, how to wash out laundry the money. A lot of people clean up the money through him. It's a money wash. But what we have, Ukrainians paying by their own blood for that. So it's a tragedy. And they put themselves in a situation where they have no choice. And I think it's just like, it would be better to say that the world is divided in two categories. Those that are trying to have a humanity, love God, have traditional values, the people who want to be people. And the ones who, I'm sorry, but they associate themselves with animals.
Yeah.
They cross the line and they're on evil side, on Satan's side. So there is really a fight of good and evil that happens in the world. And we also have Everywhere. Somewhere they're ruling, somewhere they're trying to get their head up. But at least there's enough good that can fight the evil. So there's constant battle between good and evil among those that are still looking for God and not.
Were you raised in the Orthodox tradition?
I was growing up in the Soviet Union. We didn't have. My grandmother baptized me. Yes, it was a big, a secret, but yes, by the grace of God. And when I'm an adult, I came to church myself. I was a delegate on a local church. We were electing a Patriarch Kirill. Yes. I came to church on my own. I found God. And, we grew up in the Soviet Union. I was a pioneer, Komsomol. They didn't take me to Komsomol, but...
Well, I'm familiar with the expression that the Donbass is the heart of Russia, Donbass c'est Russia. But it actually seems to me that the grandmothers are the heart of Russia.
You had your grandmother, right?
Yeah.
That your grandmother is the heart of America. Every normal person, if he or she are normal people, we respect our ties. The older we get, the more we love our mothers, fathers, grandparents. That's normal. And unnormal people, irregular, they have 500 genders. Today he's a dog, tomorrow he's an elephant.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in this world.
Yeah.
I don't think normal people would want to live in this world. We're fighting for this. Ukrainian nationalists, they're just like the arrows of Satan that are directed against us, unfortunately. They don't understand that really, but they, they don't treat homosexualism, for example, right. But still, they're on the other side of evil. But I think they hate us more than the others. Again, I repeat that today we fight with those that are with God, those are good and evil. But I know the good will always win. The people, the good, we're not angels, we don't have perfect characters, but the good will win.
So how do you explain or account for the let's call it the Banderite hatred for Russia? What is the foundation of that?
They hate everybody. They just hate everybody, somebody more, somebody less. More they hate Russians, then Polacks, then Jews. That's just people like that. I don't have an explanation. They hate everybody. That's at the core. You can't say, I hate this. They always will find a reason to hate. So whatever happens to them, they blame whatever they name. So first of all, you got to look at yourself, right? A normal person. I look at myself. Maybe the problem is in me. Oh, no, never with me. Everybody else is guilty. There, it was Austro-Hungarian Empire, either Polacks or anybody. So somebody always pressed them. They were raped by centuries, and that's what they came up with this idea. But, they just hate us more because they're paid to do that. Polacks pay them. So they hate Russians. Their idol is Bandera. Bandera is a crazy person. I read his history. He would put needles under his own nails to practice. Can a normal person do that?
No.
Even Germans put him in a camp because he stole money from them. The money that was given to them to fight Bolsheviks. That's it. That explains his character.
So I've been puzzled. Normally, like if we don't like someone or we have an issue with someone, it's because of what they've done. So, for example, if you have a girlfriend or a spouse and she's sleeping around with everyone else, then yeah, you'd be justified in being angry with her. But if she's not doing that and she's faithful and she's, loving, and you're mad at her, you've got to say, okay, what's the call? There's no justified reason for that anger. And that's what I see in terms of the West vis-a-vis Russia, that there is, I partly explain it with the collapse of the Soviet Union and Russia's return to its Christian heritage and its morality, that is so offensive now to the West because, as you pointed out, they've gone off into this satanic nonsense.
I would separate it, the people from Europe, the nations from Europe, and the power, the globalists. We're talking about the globalists.
Yeah.
Chancellor of Germany, ex-worker of BlackRock, President of France, ex-banker from Rothschild banker. They're not politicians. They are the managers that were used with mass media. They use social media. It's just they put their managers onto the country positions. I have no relationships to it. And one, that's two concern. Of course, they thought that Russia was just a branch, and that through oligarchs like Khodorkovsky, for example, and others, that they already bought out Russia, privatized Russia, but as a result, they broke their teeth. Of course they have. You know, when you thought it was yours, this is mine. I already took it. I'm going to divide it.
Yeah.
And here comes serious policemen and took everything away from me. When they say we want to take over Ukraine, listen, Ukraine is a part of Russia. We are not taking over. We're trying to get back what they stole from us. You stole it from me. We get back what is ours. And, you know, we don't want anything else. Give us what is ours. And we'll still get it back. I have no doubt about it. And majority of people think that way. Because, you know, there are normal people in Ukraine, that virus that is expressed, because they don't say anything, because they'll kill you for that. And the criteria that what is really Ukrainian, main thing, you have to hate Russians. No. That's the criteria. That's no point. That's not that you're educated, intellectual. You can be anybody, have no teeth, half crazy. But if you hate Russians, hey, you're real Ukrainian, and you can have a Nobel Prize winner. But if you speak something good about Russia, that's it. You're the enemy. That is not normal, abnormal. It's sick, and So again, we're fighting. I feel sorry for them, but you know, zombie. Yeah. Ukrainian nationalists, they're like zombies. It's like in a good American movies. Can a normal person become a zombie? Yes, but can a zombie become a normal person? Impossible. So we're gonna have a hard work, a lot of work, to take away all that virus for the other people to work normal life and have a normal life. And in Ukraine, Odessa, Kharkov, Kiev, all those cities, you know, Kiev is the mother of Russian cities. You know, Catherine the Great, she established a lot of things. What are they gonna say? A lot of writers, composers came in. You know, they cancel it all. They have nothing of their own, but they fight to kill Russian. They try to destroy this heritage, and they will say how they hate poor Ukrainians, and what you've done after what you've done. What do we need? How do we need to judge you?
What happens to Ukraine when the war ends, in your view? And I'm not asking you to be a prophet, but just what you think.
Difficult to say that, because it's not right thing to do. If you want to heal the body, you have to cut the tumor. Ukraine discredited everything what was connected with the word Ukraine. There's no healthy spirit. People don't have a healthy mindset. The best way is just get back to your historical roots. Western Ukrainian can go to Poland, part can go to Hungary, whatever was ours, Russians. Let us have what we have. I think that would be the best play. If you would leave somebody there, those crazy people, Western Ukrainians, you give them 2 square meters, they're going to spread the tumor and the virus and spread it out. Yeah. And then Polacks can go to Banderovs. And you got to keep that under control. Hungary, so Ukraine is an artificial country. It's an artificial state. It's better to go back home, and every country would control what belongs to them, not to spread this tumor brown virus. To me, that would be the ideal way. But everybody have to investigate. Everybody has to have name the people, because what they do, the murders that they do against civilians, there's no forgiveness. You know, not one civilized country can forgive people like that.
Yeah, that's one of the, although Russia's constantly accused of killing civilians, the reality is, if they were killing civilians at the rate that is being claimed, where are the names? Where's the list of names? Whereas I know that the work that's being done here in Russia about the civilians that have been killed by the Ukrainian government, they've got the names and the identities and the locations. That, you know, that fighting against that propaganda is one aspect.
You know, I tell you more. During the war, both sides, they always claim, you know, speak against each other. But do you know how many people are killed in Ukraine by special forces of Ukraine? They, at least, if they suspect any sympathy for Russia, no investigation, they kill them,
Yeah.
they murder them in jails, they trial them. You know, there's no court, there's no judge. You know, I understand when you put a bomb, yes, some people die. Citizens die because there's bombing and bullets. But, you know, we have to be honest. We have how Israeli bomb Gaza.
Yeah.
You know, when Russia strikes, there's no loss like that.
Correct.
No comparison. But no, we have to look different because the country kills its own citizens. You know, even the Profsayuz house, not 48 people died at Odessa, a lot more, because you know why they said 48? Because after 50, they have to have international investigation. UN has to come in. They have such a said that if it's over 50 people died, there has to be international investigation. That's why they wrote 48. Yeah. So as soon as we finish military activity, military operation, we will start investigation, and the ones, when you find out, I think people will be shocked. They trade the body parts, they trade kids, there's human trafficking goes on. That's, I don't know, third, fourth country of the world. It's hard for me to say how it is in Africa, but I think Ukraine, whatever could have happened, happened.
Yeah.
A young soldier, when they bring his wounded in a shoulder, and you can save him, Ukrainian soldier, so-called the Red Cross. Those people, they just, you know, the cost of the donor body parts, it went down 2-3 times. Mm-hmm. You understand? They take body parts.
Yeah.
They kill people on purpose to take their body parts. And they said that we're internationalists, you know, in America, you know that. And when white, rich American, they're not going to take a liver from the black African American. They would select a different liver. We understand that. So we know that. And all this catastrophe that takes place in Ukraine, Democrats, Victoria Nuland, and the rest of the crew with her, you know, maybe they had some kind of post-Soviet childish trauma. She's very cynical. She's educated. She did her job. She really did the job. And all these corrupted people, where do they live? They live in America. Where's two ministers of defense? They have huge mansions in America. Don't you feel embarrassed? The Secretary of Safety of Ukraine, of that ministry, he's in America. He's citizen of the United States. Ask him, what are you doing there in America? How can you afford such a lifestyle? Can a fighting country, can he take this position and then become a citizen of the United States?
Right.
That's also a huge question to special forces of the United States. But with time, the time will come and all that would surface up, and for it to be surface up, you know, it won't be hidden if they win, but they won't win. The world will shake in horror when they find out what Ukrainians did, how low it was, how barbarian it was, what they did there in Ukraine.
No. What's your reaction to the news overnight that Donald Trump has now announced through Secretary of Treasury Bessent that there are going to be sanctions, oil sanctions applied to Russia.
Mr. Trump is a very smart, pragmatic people. He's eccentric. You know, he understands everything clear. In politics, you can have agreements, memorandums, and he's got deal. He brought it into politics.
Yeah.
The result of the deal has to be a profit, and he doesn't care about what, he wants to get a profit. A profit and money have to be needed for a life. And you can put the escalation of the conflict in a nuclear war, World War III. And I think that right now there's a scenario takes place. Just a few people make that movie. I don't know how it will envelop. I understand there's system agreements, and the rest is just a movie. It's just a scene. Today's administration from United States, only one enemy. There's a globalist. We have a lot more in common than against each other.
Yeah.
Ukraine is a global project, and if somebody's playing, if they will kick out Trump, they're not going to be so merciful as he's merciful to them.
Right.
I mean, they're going to burn them all alive. And what we need to do, we need to get rid of this weed, all these systems, structures, Soros structures, globalist structures, that in principle they go like all over Europe as a web. And due to President Putin, thanks to President Putin, we cleaned it up here. That's why we can breathe here. And there you got to have a lot of cleanup to do. We have a common enemy. Ukraine it's a global project. If Trump will start participating in that, he'll just cross over the whole politics for the last 9 months that he had.
You're a businessman, so you understand costs and profit and how to make money. When you impose sanctions on oil and it raises the price of oil, that really doesn't hurt Russia, because now Russia can charge more for the oil, which means it will potentially make more money, not less money.
Difficult to say that. I don't know how Russia would make more money or less. I don't know that. But I think that in any case, it's not going to be critical.
Yeah.
Unpleasant maybe some things, but it's not a death case. We have no other solution. Where your life is at stake, to think what kind of phone you have, what kind of watch you have, a suit, nobody cares for that. We need to survive, and we need to win this war. Not because we have other things.
No.
We have no other option. We're not fighting with Europe or Americans. We're not fighting with Ukrainians. We're fighting with globalists. And they cover themselves with the beautiful words, the rights of people, the freedom of speech, freedom of faith. That's just a beautiful paper where you put a candy in. But when you unfold that paper, you have a piece of garbage there, and it stinks. That's not a candy. I have a lot of friends in Europe that still there, and they want to take a kid to the kindergarten. So he's not told that he's not a boy or a girl. He would not get into the family life. There's a family. Let them enjoy each other. It's their family. You can't get inside the family, well, unless there's some malice going on, but it's our family, it's our rights, it's our children, and they try to take away that right from us. Look, they just take the families, they take the kids from the families. A kid can fuss and say something, but they take the kid out of the family. That's not a bad thing. They want to make human being into spiritless creature. And I'm against that, and we're not going to let it happen. Really evil people, satanic people. They have no mind, no soul, no spirit, especially this LGBT.
Yeah.
Look at that. When that people call themselves dogs, they lead each other on a leash. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to live like that. I don't want my kids to see that.
Yeah, that's been let's call it a new perversion. Yeah.
No, it's a direct evil behavior in its lowest form. They decided to give it out, sell it out. They stopped hiding anything.
So I don't know if you're aware or not what the American, the experts are saying about Russia, and let me share that with you, and then I'd give you a chance to explain to the Americans why they're wrong. They say that the economy in Russia is collapsing, that inflation is out of control, that there is shortage of gasoline for cars, and that Russia is suffering enormous casualties and can't continue to fight in Ukraine. If you had a chance to sit down, and that's what they're telling that to Donald Trump, and that's what Donald Trump is saying. So if we could arrange a meeting with you and President Trump, what would you say to President Trump on those issues?
You know, I understand that in the United States and U.S. Army, they have a lot of good guys, tough guys that would give their life for their country. But in Afghanistan, if they don't have bio-toilets or some kind of things for comfort, you know, American soldiers, they can get upset and file a claim and just don't go. You know, our guys, they don't care. You know, our guys are sitting up to their knees and waist in water in the trenches. They don't care about money. They don't. We will take over. We will win. They don't understand that spirit. They don't. People say like that because they don't understand who's a Russian soldier, who's a Russian people. We don't measure by money. We'll take what we have in our house to the trench, but our country will take over.
What about the gas shortages that are, you know, are you seeing any gas shortages here in Russia?
I saw some kind of lines, but you know, with the number of drones we have, we don't need any gasoline. We'll take horses if we need to. Soon we get back to horses because the machinery is burned up so crazy, you know. Again, we have to find the antidote to these drones. We have to have bicycles or motorcycles. You don't have to have a lot of gas for that. No, it's, yes, still there's a lot of points. So it's a different war now, different type of war.
Actually, I was sort of hoping there was a gas shortage because sitting in these traffic jams, there are so many cars on the streets that it's, you know, difficult to get around Moscow.
Maybe, yeah, we'll have less traffic. You're right. Yeah, some kind of deficit, because to get somewhere is tough. People are standing in the line, you know, because of traffic in the cars. In 90s, we had a deficit. Yes, we had, but you know, we used to it. Our skin is tough. We have a thick skin. And the enemy sees that. They try to, you know, they also try to hit us. And yes, somewhere we have temporary difficulties. So what? So we'll share with the regions where they have difficulties. We understand that we're country at war. And it would be dumb to expect that people, you know, people really didn't change their life at all, some families. But, you know, we're against the whole block of NATO, so difficulties will make us stronger. We'll start to close this out, and I thank you so much for your time. There are a number of Western analysts that are saying that there is growing dissatisfaction with President Putin, that Putin is moving too slow and too cautiously with respect to the war in Ukraine or the special military operation. What would you say to those Western analysts? I'd tell them go to front line and show the example how you need to effectively move faster. Go to the front line and show the example. Take the lead. Any rhythm that is increasing, it means you're going to have a lot more losses. So I am sure that our commander-in-chief, they have their own strategy, and we move the way we need to move because we fight with the whole NATO bloc. Listen, Ukraine we could have taken over 2-3 days. Ukraine is just what? It's just Ukraine. Whatever is there, whatever they have in hands, the special forces, the connection. That's, you know, they use just the human resource. Anything else they have, that's all from NATO. Even now, the Ukrainians are getting less and less. You have from Colombia, Polacks are fighting there. I don't understand what Polacks. Look at the Polacks again. No, again they're gonna get their kick. You know, Baltic countries, Polacks. The less the country, the more phantom ideas they want to have. The more of myself I want to have. Russians, we have a great. The less the bug, the less the smell. Actually, small bugs stink, as you know. You know, serious, big countries, they're always subdued. They're serious, you know. They're having their own mind. But in any case, we got to bring them back to life, show them what really it is.
Former Prime Minister Azarov shared what I consider a horrific statistic with me the other day. He said when he took office in 2010, there were 57 million Ukrainians. And he said today, 20 million.
He doesn't lie. That's the truth. It is. He says the truth. So it's a catastrophe. Ukraine become a sacrifice of a huge experiment. Think that people are made that way, that 2-3 generations, and we forget the lessons of the past, unfortunately. We think that there's a bad education, or if they would know more of a history, now this place would not, what happened would not happen. No conclusions, no education. Unfortunately, we also have to go through that way together with them. But it's going to be all right. We'll win. We'll take over. And America and Russia, we are great countries. We'll find understanding. And the rest of the stuff of the, all this weeds, small weeds that are trying to start war, the population, they want to be heard. But we'll take care of them. We'll put up where they belong.
Well, I pray that you are able to return quickly and safely to Odessa and to be back in your family home and in the land that you grew up in, and that we will enter an era of peace. I thank you, Mr. Markov, so much for this conversation. Thank you. Спасибо.
Thank you.
Thank you.